everyone. So today I'm gonna talk about feminism. My god. Okay, now that all the stones have been thrown at me, can we talk? Seriously? So today I wanted to talk about something because for a while now I've been watching videos on YouTube about feminism only to realize that many are getting it all wrong with the movement. Let me give you some lessons first, if you don't already know yet. Feminism is a range of political movements, ideologies, and social movements that share a common goal to define, establish, and achieve political, economical, personal, and social rights for women that are equal to those of men. This includes seeking to establish equal opportunities for women in education and employment. Feminists typically advocate or support the rights and equality of women. The first wave. Often taken for granted, women in the late 19th to early 20th centuries realized that they must first gain political power, including the right to vote, to bring about change was out to fuel the fire. Their political agenda expanded to issues concerning sexual, reproductive, and economic matters. The seed was planted that women have the potential to contribute just as much, if not more, than men. The second wave. Coming off the heels of World War II, the second wave of feminism focused on the workplace, sexuality, family, and reproductive rights. During a time when the United States was already trying to restructure itself, it was perceived that women had met their equality goal, with the exception of the failure of the ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment, which has still yet to be passed. Misconception. This time is often dismissed as offensive, outdated, and obsessed with middle-class white women's problems. Conversely, many women during the second wave were initially part of the Black Civil Rights Movement, Anti-Vietnam Movement, Chicago Rights Movement, Asian American Civil Rights Movement, Gay and Lesbian Movement, and many other groups fighting for equality. Many of the women supporters of the aforementioned groups felt their voices were not being heard and felt that in order to gain respect and co-ed organizations, they first needed to address gender equality concerns. Women care so much about these civil issues that they wanted to strengthen their voice by first fighting for gender equality to ensure they would be heard. The third wave. Today, and unlike the former movements, the term feminism is received less critically by the female population due to the varying feminist outlooks. There are the ego-cultural feminists, the radical, the liberal reforms, the electoral, academic, eco-feminists, the list go on. The main issues we face today were prefaced by the work done by the previous wave of women. We are still working to vanquish the disparities in male and female pay and the reproductive rights of women. We are working to end violence against women in our nation as well as others. We are still fighting for acceptance and a true understanding of the term feminism. It should be noted that we have made tremendous progress since the first wave. It is a term that has been unfairly associated first with ladies in upskirts and wrinklet curls, then followed by butch, man-hating women. Due to the range of feminist issues today, it is much harder to put a label on what a feminist looks like. Now that we are in the feminist third wave, many are arguing, especially men, that we do not need that movement anymore. Some are even saying that feminists are, nowadays, just frustrated bitches who hates all men and want them to die. I have to agree, like in any other movements, there is some extremists. There is some women that put down other women for nothing just because they hate men, they had bad experiences, and we have to tell them it's not okay. But it's never okay to intimidate, to bully people on YouTube, no matter who it is. Show some love, show some respect. I am actually flabbergasted by the amount of hate that I am seeing towards feminists because the old mean stuff that you're all seeing is being thrown to them and so useless. We are being called the frustrated ones when actually we get a good amount of insults. You know, in feminism, there is like another movement, a lot of people who might try to use that movement for the wrong reasons. They had bad experiences with men. They exaggerate, saying that all men want to rape women. But like I said, radicalists exist in every movement. It's our job to tell people if they don't do the right thing in a respectful way. Maybe some people don't understand the movement itself. On my part, I believe that it is important to talk more, and way more about a positive and great example of feminists in this world. It's also very important to explain why feminism is still needed and that feminism fights for everyone's rights. And for that reason, let me show you some videos of celebrities or just people around the world that are actually good feminists. I know what you mean, I know what you're thinking about. You're always thinking about maybe, you know what, Anita Sarkeesian or people like her. Please focus on the positive.
Well, I think it's complicated how young women react to the word feminist. Some women react really positively, because Beyonce said it. I always say to young women, feminism doesn't mean you want to like take a stake and kill all the men and like create your own planet. It means that you believe that you deserve all the same things that people who were born not of your gender deserve. And so if you care about equality, it's really simple and hard to negate. Part of feminism is the freedom to let other women make choices you don't necessarily understand. So while you may not want to walk out with like tape like X's on your nipples and booty shorts, that may be the strong feminist choice for another woman. And even if you can't imagine yourself in her shoes, part of your job as a feminist is just to support her.
Some of the most vigorous pushback that feminists and womanists get is from men. And on one hand, I get it. These movements pose a threat to the institutional power that men have. But on the other hand, a part of me is kind of sad that men can't see why the reorganization of the social structure is good for them too. Beside the fact that fighting for a fundamentally more equal world is the right thing to do, men should get on board with feminism. And here's why. Feminism frees men too. Patriarchal masculinity is constructed in a way that is not only limited, but downright nonsensical. For example, New York Giants wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. is constantly taunted about his sexuality and his manhood on and off the field. And why? Because he has a cute haircut? Because he likes to dance on social media with his friends? Because he's looked at another man's body? The concept of masculinity is so fragile that if you don't perform it in this very specific way, you're a target. Not just for words, but all kinds of violence. So men who self-present as feminine, those who don't fit neatly in the gender binary, or men who are not straight, literally are unsafe every day. And once you recognize this, you're probably going to spend your time preoccupied with staying in those bounds, or at least appearing to. The insults tossed Beckham's way are homophobic and misogynistic. Unfortunately, those things go hand in hand. They're a byproduct of a culture in which anything outside the bounds of rigid hypermasculinity is despised. And those bounds are incredibly arbitrary. Just think of all of the ridiculous stuff you've heard been referred to as suspect or feminine. Men are reduced to conduits of violence and domination. Black men in particular are seen as savages and brute. Privilege accompanies masculinity for sure, but it's not fair to men who don't get to experience life and joy outside of that. Frankly, it's a manner of dehumanization. Yeah. Feminism is for you too. We're just here to restore your right to self-determine. To be clear, I am not in favor of centering men in discussions of the eradication of patriarchy, misogyny, and sexism. I'm just here to highlight some of the consequences we tend to overlook. So that's it. That's the case. Be sure to follow For Harriet for discussions of Black feminism and everything else.
Okay, Google's hard to spell. It's alright, I'll do it for you. Here's an article from Everyday Feminism, which I know you're familiar with, about privilege and oppression. And it defines all the things for you there. Right there, for you, specifically, Sargon of Akkad. Right there. Good. Good. I did well. Oh, shit. Sorry, I forgot. The article begins off by saying, if you're willing to learn about privilege and you don't know where to start, then this is the article for you. Sorry, I forgot you're not willing to learn at all. My bad. I'll try again. Let me try again. Try this one! Oppression is defined as the following. It is an institutionalized power that is historically formed and perpetuated over time, semicolon. It allows certain groups of people to assume a dominant position over other groups, and this dominance is maintained and continued at an institutional level. How's that? Did I do good? Did I win? Do I get your praise? Can I have your praise showered upon me? Please, oh Lord and Master Sargon of Akkad. Please. Oh wait, shit, damn it, sorry. Ignite is an anti-racist toolkit. It's not a feminist source at all. Sargon's not being racist, he's being sexist. Damn, silly me. Naughty Michael. God. I'll stop trying. Sorry, I'll stop trying. Moving on.
So returning to our Everyday Feminism article, which is the one that had the most precise definition of patriarchy that we've had so far.
So, returning to our Everyday Feminism definition of patriarchy, which is the most precise definition of patriarchy which I haven't ignored so far.
They say that you may think of patriarchy as something that existed a long time ago in the United States, during the days of the Puritans, when women were the property of their husbands and were being accused of witchcraft and hanged. Well, I'm no expert.
I can tell. But usually when someone doesn't fully understand a topic, they will do a little bit of honest research to try and further their understanding of said topic. That would require that you do a little bit of reading, and I know you're doing that now, so well done, good job, Sargon. Snaps for Sargon. Give you a cookie later. And also, this is the crucial part, try and give the writer the benefit of the doubt. You know, the whole principle of charity thing. I know this might be a radical idea, like foreign concept to you, you know, far out idea, but feminists, and in particular the feminists who are describing the patriarchy, are not all fiction-spinning propaganda machines. Might be a crazy idea. I know that can be difficult for you to understand, you yourself being a fiction-spinning propaganda machine, and I know it is difficult to put yourself in the shoes of another and try to exercise some understanding and empathy. But it's worth a try, it's worth a shot. In fact, just because I'm such a swell guy, because I care about you so much, Sargon, because I've got the feels for you, got feels down in my black, tar-infested feminist heart, I'm going to try it for you. I'm going to try and empathize with your position Sorry, I didn't mean to. I'm going to empathize. That's what I'm going to do. Empathy. 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 It's totally for me. Sargon, I understand that you have a problem with feminism. I can see how its ideas and goals could make you feel uncomfortable. I understand that you get paid thousands of dollars to rip on feminists and the like, so I can see how you would not want to stop doing that. I understand how if you were to be less deceptive and engage in some honest research while exercising some understanding and empathy, that you might potentially end up changing your mind just a little bit, which would not be good for your business model. So instead you choose to remain dishonest and misrepresent feminism and everyone who disagrees with you. I can completely understand how difficult it can be to be in a position of power such as yours, with all the followers and having to choose what to do with that power. And I totally understand how you would choose to use that power to incite hatred and encourage harassment and abuse instead of using it for good and to make the world a better place. It's totally not a despicable, abhorrent thing to do. Oh. Empathy.
Are we recording? So a while back, I was on the Ellen show, and Ellen asked me if I would call myself a feminist, and I said I absolutely would. And then recently, I gave this interview. The journalist was named Marlo Stern, and he asked me, well, what does that mean to you to be a feminist, or what does feminism mean to you? And I told him that to me, it just means that your gender doesn't have to define who you are, that you can be whatever you want to be, whoever you want to be, regardless of your gender. And this interview got a lot of attention on the internet, which I thought was really cool. I think it's a good thing to talk about. And certainly there was a lot of support, and I'm very grateful for the people who are saying that it was cool that I would call myself a feminist. And then there's a lot of people out there who are sort of against the word feminism and who take it to mean a lot of different things. And I actually wasn't as aware of this. I even found a site called womenagainstfeminism.tumblr.com. And I actually really found it very interesting looking through that site and seeing what different people had to say who didn't identify with that word. You know, people would find that word feminism to be sort of anti-men or indicate that it was not right for a woman to do things that are traditionally considered the woman's place, like stay home and raise kids. And then there were some people that were saying that feminism made sense in the past, but it doesn't anymore because men and women are equal now. And I'm no expert, but I think the facts are pretty contrary to this. I think if you actually look at the evidence of like salaries for women versus salaries for men, at least in the United States, there's still a definite disparity, and that's just one of many examples. So it's complicated, and I grant that it's complicated, and I think it's a really great thing for us all to be talking about. And in the interest of furthering this conversation, I want to ask you guys what you think about this. What does that word, feminism, mean to you? Now, as you might or might not know, I run this company called Hit Record that I started as more of a hobby many, many years ago with my brother, and since 2010 we've been doing it as a production company, and since last year we've been making it a television show. And the first season of the television show was on last year on the new cable channel Pivot. You can watch the first episode of the television show for free right here on YouTube. But this is the kind of thing we do on our show, is ask interesting questions, get the conversation going, and then maybe make art based on things that people say in those conversations. So we're working on the second season of the show right now, and every episode of the show has a theme, and one of the episodes is going to be regarding your mom. And for me, this question of feminism is perfect for that episode, because the first person who ever told me about that word, feminism, was my mom. My mom was active in sort of what's called the second wave of the feminist movement in the 60s and 70s. Of course, the first wave was the women's suffrage movement. Back before women could vote in this country, there was a movement for women to be allowed to vote. So not only was feminism something that my mom sort of taught me about, obviously motherhood in general is right at the core of what feminism is or isn't. A lot of people who don't identify with that word feminism feel like that word is somehow against motherhood. Me personally, I don't take it that way. For me, as a feminist, I would say it should be up to the woman to decide. If she wants to be a mom, then she should be a mom. And if that's, what she wants to do full time, then that's awesome. That's what my mom did. But if she wants to go out and work, have a career other than being a mom, that she should be able to do that as well, and that's to the benefit of everybody. So here's what I want you to do. Talk into your camera just like I'm doing right now, and tell me, what does the word feminism mean to you? Would you call yourself a feminist? Why? Why not? And I'm perfectly open to hearing why you wouldn't call yourself a feminist. I want to hear all sorts of opinions. Then come to our site, hit record, and upload that video footage. Contribute it to this collaboration that I started regarding feminism. And we'll use a bunch of different things that people say. And maybe, who knows, something that somebody says will spark a script. Maybe, if you're a writer out there and you see something that somebody says or an exchange that people have on the site, you can turn that into a script and that can become a short film. Maybe somebody has something to say and you watch them on the site and you're an illustrator and you start drawing that person and that can become a cartoon. Or maybe it inspires you to write a song. These are the sorts of things that springboard into the pieces that we make on our variety show, Hit Record on TV. That's it. I'm really looking forward to see what you guys have to say, and we'll see where it goes from there. Thanks again.
When I was younger, my mum would always tell me to have some chamomile tea if I needed to be calm. And I really need to be calm right now, so I'm having some chamomile tea. Two of my favourite creators, Dodie Clark and Hannah Witten, made a video about feminism, and it really inspired me to actually speak again. Being a feminist on the internet is very different to being a feminist in real life. If I tell someone I'm a feminist in real life, they might disagree with me, and that's fine. I don't mind people not agreeing with me. But if I tell someone I'm a feminist on the internet and they don't agree with me, it's such a different response. To the point where my friend Zana is too scared to upload a video about feminism onto her channel, and Dodie was really scared as well. And that's not okay. I think the best way I can explain how being a feminist on the internet is by telling a story. If you've been subscribed to me since January and you follow me on Twitter, you will know about this whole fun debacle that we all had. Basically, I made a video about feminism in December, and a anti-feminism channel with about 50,000 subscribers took my video and made a video about my video using clips from my video. His video linked my video, and I ended up taking my original video down. I deleted it entirely. It's not even privatized, it's just deleted. And that wasn't because I didn't like that someone disagreed with me, and it wasn't because I was trying to pretend that it never happened. It was just because the response to my video from his subscribers was so overwhelmingly hateful that I couldn't deal with it. I'm willing to admit that. I didn't have the strength to deal with hundreds and hundreds of people telling me that they wanted me to die, they wanted me to be raped, they wanted to stab me, just over and over and over again. And I just have to emphasize, my video wasn't aggressive or hateful. It was actually quite lighthearted, and I put a lot of effort into making sure that it wasn't angry and it wasn't preachy. It was just me talking about feminism, and I got attacked. I got completely attacked. It just blew my mind that all I had to do was say that I was a feminist, and I had at least 3 or 4 grown men commenting on every single one of my videos that weren't even anything to do with feminism, saying the explicit things that they wanted to have happen to me. And it's just so childish. I don't mind people disagreeing with me. I really don't. I mean, it's nice when people do agree with me, but I take interest in people who disagree with me because I want to know what they think. I want to know their opinion. I want to know why they disagree. I watch quite a lot of YouTubers who I don't share the same opinions of because it's interesting and because it educates me further. But when someone is attacking my appearance and my voice and the way that I smile in order to try and upset me because I don't agree with them, I just immediately shut off. I don't want to know what they think because it's not respectful. I am completely happy to openly say that what happened to me because of my feminism video has terrified me very, very, very deeply. This is the first time I've spoken about feminism since then because, quite frankly, I'm scared shitless because it was so overwhelming to have so many people hate me just because I didn't agree with them. And you can tell me to grow a thicker skin and you can tell me to get over it, but I really shouldn't have to, surely. What causes a grown man, several grown men, hundreds of grown men, to talk about violently and explicitly murdering a 17-year-old girl just because she says she's a feminist? That is terrifying and weird. To have someone that I've never met call me a retard and call me shit for brains just because I didn't agree with him, and then have thousands of people agree and cheer him on, like encourage him. I've never felt that much hate towards someone, and I don't think I ever will, not even people who I totally disagree with, because that's still a person. Like, even the dude who thinks catcalling is a compliment is still a person. Even the guy who thinks that women have more privileges than men is still a person. Like, these are all still people with lives and thoughts and feelings and reasons why they think the things they think. I don't want bad things to happen to any of them. Being a feminist on the internet is really, really tough sometimes, because no matter how polite or decent you are about your views, there's a 99% chance that the response to it will be ugly and hateful. Unnecessarily hateful. I don't really know if I made sense in this video, but I think it's important that I make it anyway and upload it anyway, just because. Just because.
This video is part of a series for Everyday Feminism, a website dedicated to helping you stand up to and break down everyday oppression. Even in 2015, there's still a huge amount of controversy surrounding the wage gap. You've probably already heard the statistics surrounding women making less average income than men. This disparity has been justified for a multitude of reasons, including women's choices in having children and simply choosing lower-paying jobs out of preference. This video is going to break down these myths surrounding the wage gap and discuss why the idea of the wage gap being a myth is actually a myth, aka the wage gap myth. According to a 2010 study done by the US Census Bureau, when we average the incomes of all working women of all races, their incomes are 78% of the average income of working men. However, when we consider race, women of color earn considerably less than even their white counterparts. In 2013, black women earned 64% of what white men were paid. The wage gap was even higher for Native American and Latino women, who, in comparison to white men, earned 59% and 54% respectively. While it can be useful to look at the incomes of men and women as a whole, it still doesn't account for things like hours worked, educational level, work experience, or the type of job. However, even when we control for these factors, the gender pay gap still exists. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics released a 2014 report examining the median weekly earnings of full-time wage and salary workers that took gender and job position into account. When type of job and job position are controlled for, the gender wage gap disparity still exists in every single field. Even when we take education into consideration, the pay gap still exists between men and women with the same level of education who majored in the same field. I also want to note that the bulk of research on this subject perpetuates the gender binary by only focusing on men and women and not including gender nonconforming or non-binary individuals. Also, the statistics that I found on married couples were predominantly centered around heterosexual couples. Go figure. There are many sexist assumptions about women's labor that continue to contribute to wage inequality between men and women today. I want to note that this is a very complicated subject, and I'm not going to be able to go into as much detail about this as I would like, but I am going to have all of my sources cited below if you want to check them out for yourself. Our current workforce is highly segregated by gender. This began in the late 1800s and 1900s when women entered the professional workforce, and certain professions such as teaching, nursing, librarianship, clerical, and sales all became dominated by women. According to research done by Bergman, O'Neill, Blau, and various other researchers, feminized jobs, or jobs that are female-dominated, pay relatively lower wages than male-dominated jobs. We literally put a lower price on women's work than we do on men's work. Even in areas of feminized labor, men still earn more than women. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, women are paid less than men in all occupations, whether they be female-dominated, male-dominated, or gender-balanced. The wage gap is often dismissed as being a result of women's preferences and career choices. However, these preferences are often based on social and cultural factors that affect the lines of work that women go into and the way that work is valued. Women are told from birth that there are specific talents and preferences that girls are supposed to have, and they're nurtured and encouraged accordingly. This is reinforced in all areas, including education, the media, and eventually the workforce. This is actually an excellent time to mention STEM fields, which are generally perceived as being male jobs. If you look on the surface, the stereotype might seem pretty accurate because women make up about half of the overall workforce, but only make up 27% of science and engineering jobs. However, there are many social factors in place that contribute to this, such as a lack of encouragement in schools, a lack of representation of women scientists in the media, marginalization and harassment within educational programs and the workplace, and straight-up discrimination by employers. The third contributing factor to the wage gap is what's commonly referred to as the second shift. Studies done by Freeman and Shetcat consistently show that women spend more time doing domestic labor than their husbands, which frees up the husband's schedules to spend more time in the workplace. According to this research, modern women do about 2 to 3 times more household work, such as cooking, cleaning, or taking care of children, than men do. However, in the last half a century, women have entered the workforce in droves. And while the proportion of working men to working women has pretty much evened out, statistically, we don't see the same evening out of household responsibility. Research from Argentine-American economist Graciela Cichulnicki, which I'm sure I'm pronouncing wrong, shows that unequal division of labor at home only adds to the gender wage gap. And while married women can obviously be excellent and devoted workers, doesn't it seem like dividing up household labor equally between partners might be a good way to go? According to research done by Ginther, Waldvogel, and Winder, who apparently all came out of children's storybooks, married women who also have children experience more income inequality than single women with no kids. So basically, the moral of these statistics is, ladies, don't get married and have kids if you don't want your income to be affected. The wage gap is most apparent in occupations with the highest pay and demand, where 24/7 availability is required. This is part of the reason why women with children are often excluded from the highest paying jobs, whereas men with children don't really have that problem. Women are also typically considered higher cost workers because of the indirect labor costs associated with women workers. But almost all of these unequal labor costs stem from the unequal division of parenting that's generally assigned to women with children. It's assumed that women will be more likely to take time off work or leave their jobs because of family responsibilities. And hey, maybe we should consider that equal division of labor thing that I discussed earlier. Just a thought. Studies from Anchor and Hines show that while women were more likely to take off time from work than men, the differences were statistically insignificant. Another reason that women have been discriminated against in the workplace is because of the higher costs associated with paid maternity leave. While I want to point out that many pregnant women and mothers experience discrimination and income inequality in the workforce, this association of women with motherhood relies on the assumption that all women choose to or have the ability to have children. And I'm gonna say it, assuming that all women make the same life choices, quite frankly, is a little sexist. The issue of women experiencing income inequality is a complicated one, but there are multiple steps we can take to fix it. These include, but are not limited to, equal division of household labor among couples, paid maternity and paternity leave, better access to childcare, legislation that brings women greater freedom in making their own choices in reproductive rights, anti-discrimination laws for women with disabilities, queer and trans women, and other sexual and gender minorities.
For some time now, people have been demanding that I respond to this girl. She has an itty-bitty channel, so I didn't really want to pay her any attention, as giving her attention, of course, only benefits her. But after enough harassment from you people, I've decided to finally respond to her video. Her title is Onision Rages About Feminism and Looks Stupid. Before I get started actually responding to your video, I want to congratulate you on the fact that you're not forced to wear a burqa, thanks to, of course, feminists. Now prepare yourselves for statements from a woman clearly benefiting from many feminists who came before, shitting all over them, because after all their hard work, she has the privilege to live in a society that is nowhere near as harsh to her as it was to many women who came before her.
Hey Onision, so I heard you like being cucked.
That's how you're gonna start this video, with something you heard? What I actually enjoy is having sex with two amazing women, and I do so with zero remorse. Maybe do more research in the future, so you don't appear so ignorant.
So in case you don't know who Onision is, he's basically what happens when you combine a Pokemon hentai fetish, a spare chromosome, and 20-something years of sexual repression.
So she just threw all Down syndrome people under the bus in order to take a jab at me. As for the alleged 20 years of sexual oppression, I lost my virginity at age 14, and I've had sex literally thousands of times since then. But you get a gold star for trying. Feminism is the advocacy of women's rights on the grounds of political, social, and economic equality to men.
Congratulations, you read a dictionary definition. I can do that too.
Did you just use Urban Dictionary in response to me using an actual definition? Do you actually consider Urban Dictionary a credible source? Because if so, this is going to be a rough ride for you. The definitions I use are part of the foundation of the English language. Literally anyone can go to Urban Dictionary and define whatever they feel like, however they want. And how about I prove my point right now, to really get you to understand how foolish you're being? Oh wow, looks like Blair White isn't defined yet. Since you seem to think Urban Dictionary is such a credible source, let's define Blair White as black and white wildcats you tend to see roaming city streets covered in their own vomit and urine. Make sure you tweet at Onision when you posted this definition to Urban Dictionary, so we can all celebrate these wonderful Blair Whites and their majestic feline ways. Because people say stupid shit like, egalitarianism is better than feminism, even though it's basically the same thing. They both call for equal rights.
Actually, it's not the same thing, and the very definition that you cited in order to decimate everyone shows that. Feminism operates in the sphere of women's rights. It's right there in the definition. Egalitarians are concerned with the rights of everyone regardless of skin color or gender. It's a very important distinction to make, and it's one that you could have easily made if your IQ was anywhere above -6.
Wow, that would be a really good point you made if I didn't literally say basically the same thing, even though it's basically the same thing. Even though it's basically the same thing.
Basically the same thing.
Actually, it's not the same thing.
Instead of literally the same thing. You then go on to say,
it's a very important distinction to make, and it's one that you could have easily made if your IQ was anywhere above -6.
Meanwhile, again, you seem to want to be perceived as a credible person, and yet you stated I have an IQ that doesn't exist. If you only took the time to Google it, you of course would have known that. And over 1,000 people voted. 69% of feminists believe that women are equal to men.
Whoa, look at Onision dropping truth bombs with a Twitter poll. Much science, very truth.
Since that time I made the video, the poll got over 12,000 votes. Regardless of how valid or invalid you think a Twitter poll is, you're still looking at 12,000 people who stated what their beliefs are. 11% of the people who voted, identifying themselves as feminists, said that women are superior, and 15% voted inferior. 11% and 15% almost cancels itself out. We like to invalidate things on Twitter when they don't agree with us, but you and I both know well, just because something's on Twitter doesn't mean it's invalid. This is one of many examples of important statements made on Twitter that is not degraded by the fact that it's on the site. You disregard that poll because it's simply not convenient to you. People utilize the same tactic on a regular basis. Polls don't agree with them, they immediately try to invalidate them. And you ignoring 12,000 people, that takes a special kind of stubbornness.
And you know, Onision, it's really interesting you're making this argument. I mean, do you remember when you said this?
Personally, I've always felt that women are superior to men.
That lack of self-awareness, man.
Just one request, work on your editing skills.
Personally, I've always felt that women are superior to men.
That lack of self-awareness, man.
You keep cutting off statements. And it's super annoying because it makes it look like I'm the one who doesn't know how to properly edit videos when I'm responding to your video. As for you pointing out that I think women are superior to men, I think most women are superior to men. But as I established in previous videos, a belief that a gender is superior does not equate to hypocrisy when a person is fighting for equal rights. Just because I think ice cream is better than cake doesn't mean I'm going to try and stop people from eating cake. In fact, if they're both consumed equally, that's fine with me. I just personally like the ice cream more. So the point you were trying to make was actually completely pointless. And as you obviously don't know, I identify as a feminazi. You should really watch my previous videos before speaking of me further, because you clearly don't know what you're talking about. You prioritize your closed-minded personal experiences over the fucking truth.
Yeah, and you are prioritizing your allegiance to a dictionary over the truth. The word feminism was created in the 1890s. 1890s! To pretend as if the movement hasn't changed since then at all, or to stick your bobblehead so far in the dirt that you don't see that the actions of third-wave feminists have greatly turned off a lot of people from the movement, is stupid.
She's clearly stating that the definition of feminism is not accurate to what feminism represents today. And she's only able to do this because she immediately wrote off this poll that thousands of feminists voted on, clearly pointing out that the majority of feminists believe in equality. That's how people continue living their lie. They're faced with facts, they immediately state it's invalid, and they continue their narrow-minded mindset that's focused on a negative rather than a positive. Here's a couple feminists at a rally. They look peaceful, they look happy, they no doubt believe in equality. But this is super boring, right? There's no violence, there's no screaming, there's no chaos. So of course we'll never hear about it in the news because we are a society that loves to focus on the negative. If you guys have any experience with watching the news, you will very likely 100% agree with me. So what do? We turn feminism into something like this. This awkward, weird situation becomes one of the only things we want to focus on when we think of feminism anymore. Here's a normal, peaceful rally. Someone holding up a sign, "Stop killing women," which guess what? Many women are killed for doing things that men can do without being punished. One example is this man beating a woman for allegedly removing her burqa. Meanwhile, that man's free to walk around without a burqa. And obviously that is one of many reasons why feminism was and continues to be important in the world in general. But back to my point, the majority of feminists believe in equality and wish to fight for women to have equal rights. I proved that in a poll that you conveniently ignore. Meanwhile, you have no poll of your own proving feminists believe any different. So I think for now, we'll go ahead and go with the only person who actually has evidence.
Feminism is not synonymous with women's rights.
Oh my god, did you really just say that? It's in the definition. The definition is the same in the Cambridge Dictionary. It says basically the same thing in the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, and dictionary.com also agrees. If you went to a college and you didn't respect definitions, you would flunk out.
Being against feminism does not mean that you are against women's rights. It means that you're in opposition to the ideological framework in which feminism operates under.
In 1848, a bunch of people gathered for the sake of women being treated equally, for women to have voting rights, etc. Now I know you and your ignorance want to believe that feminism hasn't accomplished much since then. It's super convenient for you to have your position, as hating feminism is a pretty popular thing right now, due to a lot of people online having an incredibly uneducated perspective on feminism, and somehow the inability to focus on anything but negative when it comes to feminism. Thanks to feminism in 2016, women were finally allowed to have any job in the military. Thanks to feminism, these events also occurred, one of the most important being the rights women have when they're victims of violence, including victims of trafficking. Even still today, women are struggling with having rights to their own body, as for some crazy reason, some people seem to believe that even when a woman is raped, she is not allowed to abort the baby she was impregnated with by the rapist, because of course they no doubt have a religious agenda and care more about their made-up fairies than the victims right in front of them. Thanks to feminism, you can't discriminate against people based on sex. Yeah, this is why feminism is great. In fact, if you're a woman and you're sexually discriminated on, you can actually sue people. And that too is fucking awesome. Again, rape is a huge problem even in our first world country. And thanks to feminists, rape victims have more rights against the people who sexually violated them. Now, I'm only 2 minutes into your video, but I am going to go ahead and stop because I'd like to spend time with my family at some point today. But I think I've more than thoroughly established how uneducated you are, and also how obviously ungrateful you are. You, the person who's clearly battling against feminism, could very well be raped. And without feminism, the person who raped you would have even less of a chance of seeing any time in jail than he already does. And on top of that, if you got pregnant, in a society without feminism, you would be forced to have that baby. And additionally, without feminism, you could also potentially be forced to marry the person who raped you. It's in Deuteronomy 22:28-29. Long before feminism had a foothold. Thanks to feminism, you don't have to spend the rest of your life maritally shackled to the person who sexually violated you. But if that individual didn't want to marry you, then guess what? Without feminism, he won't be forced to pay you child support. So here you are, a victim of a horrible crime, forced to bring a rapist's baby into this world, with no possible punishment given to the rapist. Thanks to people like you using ignorance to fight against people who would fight for you. The majority of people do not commit crimes. The majority of people are not extremists. The majority of people live peaceful lives. Most of us know all this to be true because we've gone out in public and seen how consistently orderly things tend to be in the majority of this country, which happens to be primarily low crime areas. So considering how non-extreme most people are, wouldn't you think that most people who fight for women's rights are also non-extreme? They simply want equality between the genders. That does not make them an extremist. That does not make them something negative. It makes them decent. So in the future, instead of fighting against people who are fighting for you, you simply saying thank you would suffice.
Discuss nowadays, which is feminism. Actually, I want to talk about my opinion about feminism and the real definition of feminism, because I think that nowadays there is a lot of people in that movement that give feminism really a bad example. And I'm gonna talk about that, and I'm gonna explain that for me the most important for people should be to concentrate on real feminism and to forget about others. So I'm gonna explain what is my personal, real definition of feminism. Feminism is a range of political movements, ideologies, and social movements that share a common goal to define, establish, and achieve equal political, economic, cultural, personal, and social rights for women. This includes seeking to establish equal opportunities for women in education and employment. A feminist advocates or supports the right and equality of women. Feminist movements have campaigned and continue to campaign for women's rights, including the right to vote, to hold public office, to work, to earn fair wages or equal pay, to own property, to receive education, to enter contract, to have equal rights within marriage, and to have maternity leave. Feminists have also worked to promote bodily autonomy and integrity, and to protect women and girls from rape, sexual harassment, and domestic violence. Feminist campaigns are generally considered to be one of the main forces behind major historical societal changes for women's rights, particularly in the West, where they are near universally credited with having achieved women's suffrage, gender neutrality in English, reproductive rights for women, including access to contraceptives and abortion, and the right to enter into contracts and own property. I need feminism because I'm sick of people being shocked when I say I never want children. Because many people say to women that she's a woman, so she's supposed to give birth, no matter what her opinion about that is. As me, I don't want kids, but as a woman, you should have kids. Now I will explain some quotes that I really liked, and it explained for me and my personal point of view why we need feminism today. I need feminism because gender stereotypes are shit for everyone. Which means that gender stereotypes are as bad for men than for women. As a woman, I don't want to get called a woman that should be weaker than a man. A woman is a lot of times considered lower in society and oversensitive, that should stay in the kitchen and stuff like that. And I'm against stereotypes against men too. I need feminism because I don't want to walk down the street and get harassed. Let's say something. As a woman, it's really giving up ourselves a lot of insecurity to walk down the streets and get harassed because it's men that does that. It's not the woman. But if we say the statistics and if we talk about that, we pass. People keep thinking that we are men haters. It's just facts and statistics. We should not be afraid to walk down the street at night because we might get harassed. If you're a man, I don't generalize, but a lot of times when men go out together in a club and they harass women, they feel like they are men, real men. And that's another reason why we need feminism, because we should educate men that a woman is not an object and should be treated with respect. I need feminism because it was only after I took a woman and gender studies course that I began to question why I have routinely shaved off the hair of my legs, underarms, and vagina. Women have hair and they should feel as comfortable flaunting it as men. One of the reasons why I really like this is why a woman should shave here, the legs, and the private parts just to please a man. It's still in the society a fact that the woman should be perfectly looking for a man and be clean and shaved. We never question why a man has that much hair, and we don't ask them to shave. And it should be the same for women. It should be equal. I need feminism because people still ask what the victim was wearing. Okay. Since when it is important to know what the victim was wearing while she was getting raped? It is not the woman to blame, but the man who did it. That is the biggest problem in our society, is that we blame the victim and not the person that raped. A woman is not an object. Even if a woman would be naked walking down the street, there is still no excuse to get raped. I don't excuse getting naked in the street, that's one thing. But we need to educate men and women that a body is not sexual. A body is just a body. And there is no excuse to rape. And with statistics that I have in an article on internet, 98% of persons that rape are men. So yeah, nowadays there is a wave of new kinds of feminists, which I don't really agree with. But what I think is that in every movement there's extremists, and when they go up front, they talk and they give that movement, which is feminism, a very bad reputation, and which I don't agree with. And I don't agree with their ideology. And I don't like the fact that most of these people keep bashing all the time on men and put them down, which is not the goal of feminism. I need feminism because bad bitch is not a compliment. Because a lot of men likes to insult other women, and they like to insult them about their periods, to say that women are hysterical, they are a bitch, and I'm like, these are really sexist stereotypes. Also, this is what I think. Let me be clear. Real feminists do not hate men. We don't hate anyone unless you're an asshole. I'm a proud feminist and I love men. I'm even saying one. We want equality for everyone, not hate. There's another reason why I think that we need feminism, is that in a lot of publicities and a lot of magazines, it's the women that you see that are sex objectified. And I think that's something that we need to learn from. And for me, feminism is equality for all women. Me, vs. a woman, is coming to the conclusion that owning one's sexuality is really about having the strength of character to stay true to who you are, despite the pressure everyone around you, society, family, friends, may put on your shoulders to act a certain way. What I'm saying, boys and girls, is that if you truly want to own your sexuality, just be yourself. Stay true to your personal beliefs and principles, whatever they may be. Newsflash, the so-called prude who decides to save him or herself for the right person, and especially in a world where such a thing is made out to be weird and unhealthy, is owning his or her sexuality just as much as the person who chooses to be promiscuous in a world where such behavior is praised. Whatever your choice is, as long as you know why you're doing it, and that if is the reason of peer pressure, wanting to look cool, what's going to sell, then only will you truly own your body. Second of all, why does everything always have to be about sex? Why does being a woman always have to do with being sexual? Why does it always have to be about the body and not about the brain? And as if the only kind of power women can have lies in their beauty. The type of feminism we see in pop culture solely tends to be about women owning their bodies, but what about owning their brains? Why is there nothing deep and cerebral about being a feminism according to what mainstream media feed us? Because in the end, that is what being a feminist really is about, isn't it? More than anything, it's about going further than just a package that you see. And it also works for minorities. Why is there sexism and racism in this world? Because people stop at someone's outward appearance to judge and discriminate instead of trying to see beyond the stereotypes they have attached to a certain gender or skin color. Feminism is about treating everyone like a human beings because women are human beings. Now, I'm not saying that women's bodies should be something that we out to hide and be ashamed of. To the contrary, women of all shapes and sizes are to own their bodies with pride, whether you're wearing oversized sweatpants or a sexy lingerie, whether you're skinny and voluptuous, prude, or promiscuous. However, being a woman is also and mostly about owning your ideas, your opinion, your beliefs, because that's what being human is all about. It is truly tragic that side of women seems to be constantly silenced in today's global culture, just as in the past. Women who talk about real issues are often considered boring or bitches. Because for generations, people have been conditioned to believe that a real woman worries about being pretty, sexy, finding a husband, and having kids. So when suddenly a woman breaks that mold, some of us, especially men, feel destabilized. Just look how smart, ambitious, cerebral women look, like Hillary Clinton, French politician like Ségolène Royal, or any powerful woman are treated by the media. The public is made to care more about what they wear rather than what they have to say. There's another thing I want to quote here. Know the difference between a feminist and a feminazi. A feminist is someone who supports women's rights and believes in gender equality. They are open-minded, educated people. Male feminists also exist. Now, fake feminists. A feminazi is a sexist person who believes in the female domination. They're close-minded, and anyone who does not agree with them is a rapist. They are usually frustrated, delusional, who think every man is trying to rape them. A real feminist, gender inequality is something that needs to be fixed within society, but there are peaceful and mature ways of going about this that doesn't involve slandering those in a privileged position. Societal norms should never define what gender is, particularly when people are fighting to change the deeply rooted inequality. Gender is not defined by sex. It's possible for men to be feminists. It's about equality, not superiority. Misandrists, fake feminists. Men are such fucking pigs. They're all the same, stupid, hungry, and only out for sex. Good for nothing. That's what men are. Oh, and don't want hold the door open for a lady? Fucking pig. What? You're holding the door open for me? Fuck you. Do you think I'm helpless or something? Penis? What do you mean you have a penis? Get the fuck out, pig. What? You're a man and you want to call yourself a feminist? Fuck off. That are stupid people, not feminists. Okay, and there's another debate which is pretty hard for me to go in because most of the time when we talk about patriarchy, if we say that we believe that there is still patriarchy existing, there's still a lot of judgments about being against men, which is not true. Patriarchy is a term for societies in which male is the favored gender and in which men hold power, dominion, and privilege. That position is reinforced by societal and cultural norms, religious teachings. You will never see a woman being a pope or stuff like that, and a woman has no right to be a pope or like a monk or something. Media portrayals of gender roles, specifically female inferiority, the use of perceived feminine characteristic as insult, and even formal definition of gender roles, including laws limiting women's rights. Male power in the patriarchy can be found at family, community, social, and government levels. For example, in the family realm, father could have dominion over the unmarried daughters, husbands over their wives, and sons over widowed mothers. The men of the house make the ultimate decision of everything from size of family to the family budget to methods of discipline. In the community, businesses are generally run by men, and local leaders as well as disrespected elders are men. The social rules and norms are set and enforced by men. The formal definition of patriarchy as a form of government is of one controlled by men, by design limitation, be it functionally a theocracy, a monarchy, dictatorship or partial democracy with limited enfranchisement. Any government comprised disproportionately of men can be described as a patriarchy, even full democracies. A majority of human society of the last 2,000 or so years have been patriarchal. There is disagreement about early in history, with some proposing the existence of matriarchal or at least sex-egalitarian society, although it is disputed whether such society ever represents a norm. There is such strong evidence that in at least some culture, the status of women was relatively high. Because patriarchy defines men as the rulers, men and women roles are strictly defined and, in a sense, enforced. Women must be seen as inferior, weaker, generally less capable, less intelligent, and less worthy. Their work is equally considered lower. They are relegated to earth and home, cleaning, caring of the family, and serving the husband. In fact, in the rare instance that men do the same work, the men get title position to distinguish that they are doing something better than women. They are chefs to a woman cook. They are fashion designer to a woman seamstress. But critically, the same pressure exists for men to conform to particular roles. One classic example is that men must be tough and strong, must not cry, must not back down, must be willing to get into physical altercations to solve problems. Recognizing and opposing patriarchy is a major theme in feminism. Patriarchy is still pervasive and highly disempowering, and despite the achievement of feminism, is still a powerful force in even the most modernized society. Patriarchy skepticism is common among men's rights advocates and other critics of feminism. So yeah, to end my video, because I think that I had a lot of things to say. What I would say is to focus on real people, on real feminists, And just remember, someone who is just screaming, insulting, blaming men, blaming this, blaming whatever, is not a feminist. You should not even consider this person a feminist. And maybe there are women doing stupid stuff, but you should not be against women. You should be against people acting these ways, not against a certain gender. Because if you become against a certain gender, it becomes sexism. And in families, there's women and there's men that are assholes. Feminism, real feminism, is human's rights. It's not for the woman superiority. Because as a feminist, everyone deserves equality. And if you go at the root of feminism, that's what it is, really. So I would recommend everyone to do their research about feminism, the history of feminism, and concentrate on the good side of it.